Greetings, one and all. AJ Legend here, and welcome to my new video series that I am calling Monster Mayhem, in which I will be reviewing monster movies, both old and new. And I think it's only fitting that, in the spirit of this week, since we are, since we are, close to the release of Kong Skull Island, and pretty much the relaunch of the old school monsters with their modern day updates, I think it's only fitting that we cover Godzilla, the 2004 movie. I'm sorry, the 2014 movie. I don't know why I said 2004, but whatever. Uh, Directed by Gareth Edwards, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, Elizabeth Olsen, and Bryan Cranston. Uh, I gotta say, I really like this movie. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. It reminds me a lot of Jaws in terms of its pacing and a lot of his visual style is very akin to Jaws in my opinion. Special effects are solid, really good, CGI effects and some pretty decent practical effects as well. Um, Solid acting. Everyone in the cast, does a good job in the acting department. Everyone does a serviceable job to make the characters believable and stuff like that. Uh, the of course Godzilla takes on new monsters called Mutos, and the Mutos look pretty cool. They're interesting characters. How they feed on radiation as a as a food supply, stuff like that. So that's pretty interesting. And I like the whole concept on how since 1954 they've been trying to kill Godzilla. Like the atomic bomb, they made the way the movie did it. They made the atomic bomb look like a weapon that was created to kill Godzilla, which I thought was a pretty interesting twist on that. Uh, yeah, that's pretty. That's well, those are the pros. The cons, however, um, with the exception of Bryan Cranston, a lot of the characters are just cardboard cutouts. They're really uninteresting and they're unappealing. Elizabeth Olsen is just your generic army wife. Aaron Taylor Johnson is your generic army dude. Ken Watanabe plays the scientist, and he's completely underutilized, in my opinion, playing Dr. Serizawa, a character from the original Godzilla movies. And I always thought this movie would have been so cool if it took place within that same universe, and Ken Watanabe's version of Dr. Serizawa was like a relative of the original Serizawa. I always thought that would have been pretty cool to see. Unfortunately, it didn't go that way. This is a straight up Americanized reboot that is not connected to the Japanese movie, which to me is a shame because I think it would have worked just on a nostalgic level. I think would have made so much would have been so cool. I think it would have given Ken Watanabe's character a little bit more depth because for the most part he has an interesting character, but he's just not explored. Like they don't even attempt to explore this man and why he wants to research these monsters. They hint at it, and you get throwaway lines, but you don't really like of other people saying this. But he doesn't tell the story as to why he wanted to do this sort of thing. And to me, that was just a wasted opportunity because he had an interesting character here, and you did nothing with it, and that sucks. Uh, Again, a lot of the supporting cast, they're just there. You got the David Strahan plays like generic army general type guy. And he's okay, he's good, but again, like he's just plain army general type guy. He ain't really there's nothing. He doesn't really serve the story. And a lot of these characters they don't serve the story, like with the exception of Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston's character is the only character that is given depth in an arc. Um, in the prologue to the movie, we find like you see Bryan Cranston working at this nuclear power plant in Japan, and the nuclear power plant is about to undergo an explosion. Little do they know that it's actually the Muto that's causing it, but they don't know that. So, Bryan Cranston was forced to pretty much lock down the plant, and in so doing, had to let his wife die. And it's a decision they both made. And when you see Cranston, you can tell that he's just a broken man. And when you see him 15 years later, he's still researching the events of that day, trying to figure out just exactly what caused the meltdown. And he's also still wrestling with the fact that he had to kill his wife. And he has so much emotional depth. And he dies 40 minutes into the movie. Big, big, big con. Your most interesting character dies before Godzilla even makes an appearance. That was a letdown. They only and you're pretty much left with all these cardboard characters who, like I said, they're just not interesting. And then the movie puts too much focus on these people and not enough focus on the monsters. Like when we first get the big reveal of Godzilla and hear the roar, it's awesome. And then it cuts to a TV screen, and you're seeing flashes of a fight he and the Mutos were having, and the fight looked like it would have been awesome, but the movie thought it was a good idea to just show like quick flashes on the TV or like a news broadcast, which I was like, why? Excuse me. Sorry. Then there's another scene when they get to San Francisco, and just as Godzilla and the Mutos are about to lock up again, the camera cuts away to a different scene. And you're just like, come on, let me see them fight. Finally, when we get to the end of the movie, we see them fight. But the cinematography is way off because it's dark and it's not like it's not like AVPR dark, with the point where you can't see anything. You can still see it, but it's so mute. But the color palette is so muted that you gotta like look really, really hard to see it because it's so shadowy and so muted. And it's like, come on, like really, come on! I want to see. I paid to see Godzilla fight a monster. I did not pay to watch a movie called Godzilla and to have half my time with human characters who are just not that interesting. But with all that aside, when you do get to see the monster fight, the monster Godzilla finally fight the Mutos, it is cool. It is fun to watch. Seeing Godzilla, whip his tail, using the radiation breath. There's this one cool scene where he grabs one of the Mutos, forces its mouth open, and just shoots his radiation breath down the throat of the monster until his head pretty much falls off from his body. And it's a cool looking scene. I love it a lot. So as a final verdict, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It is, still a good movie. Like I said, the performances are serviceable. They're good. But the cons greatly outweigh the pros. But again, this movie is not shit at all. It really is an enjoyable movie. And I do like the whole, reference to the pacing that's akin to Jaws and the character of Brody, who was and of course the Brody reference also from Jaws because the two main leads, Cranston's character and Taylor John's characters are both named Brody, and that was a cool little nod to Jaws also with Chief Brody. So this movie, I guess you could say, is unintentionally inspired by Jaws, which I thought was cool. So that's of course that also adds on to the 7, and even though I say Ken Watanabe's character was underutilized, the scenes he was in, he was good. He came across as interesting, and when he tells the story of Godzilla and all that history, that was good. Godzilla himself looks good. The Mutos himself, they look good. When you do get to see them fight, the fighting looks spectacular. But again, a moody color palette, bland characters. It does take away a lot of points. However, Gareth Edwards puts on a solid direction. He does not use shaky cam at all. His camera flow is very, very fluid. It's very clear. It's clean. He's not shaking around the camera like a madman. He's actually just letting the scenes play out and letting everything do it and just doing his job as a director. He's just letting the camera flow naturally without shaking it like a madman, which I can appreciate. And another reason why I can't hate on this movie, because the action scenes are done very well. And in the end, that's enough to satisfy me. Well, again, final verdict, 7 out of 10. if you haven't seen it, I'd say give it a watch because a very entertaining movie, and it deserves it deserves a viewing because at the end of the day, again, it's entertaining, it's fun to watch. When you do see Godzilla, he looks awesome, and when he does fight the Mutos, it looks great. Well, that's all I got to say about that. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time.